What's good, everybody, and welcome to an episode of the I'ma Tell It Like a TIS podcast with your host, yours truly, Jai Shields, here on this Friday before Memorial Day weekend and kick off Memorial Day weekend, the 23rd of the greatest month of the year, 2025. We got a good show here for you here to kick off your holiday weekend. Obviously, the NBA playoffs with the conference finals in the West and in the East. We'll give my 2 cents on that. A little bit of baseball. Won't talk about Mike Elias anymore. I don't. They lost 19-3 in their or 19-5. I apologize. Like it makes a big difference in game one of their doubleheader against the Red. I got no energy to kick and scream and yell and rant and rave. Plus, I don't want this show to be 3 hours long. And if I get started on yours, I can literally dedicate the whole show to them in terms of recording time. So I'm gonna save it for next week or whenever I feel like I'm in the mood to scream and yell. Right now, I'm just too emotionally and mentally just spent, worn out, exhausted because of them, and just life stuff. Getting up and had a long day today, whatever. So I'm not gonna touch on them. I want to. I want to get in and out and discuss other things around the world of sports, including the Tush push, which is here to stay. And we'll save that for last. But let us begin with the NBA playoffs and start with it so I can get it in and out because it is a series that could get rather ugly rather quickly. And that is the Western Conference Finals between the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Oklahoma City Thunder. You want to talk, that series is borderline unwatchable for two different reasons. One, Oklahoma City is just too damn good. They're too good. They got talent all over the place. You got Chet Holmgren, who provides a nice scoring presence inside, who can rebound, but because of his inefficiencies, because he's not really all that muscular, he's my brother. It's funny. He calls him Linguini from from Ratatouille because he's got the facial hair with the beard, with the beard and the crazy hair, and then he's kind of hunched over a little bit like that, and he has literally no muscle to speak of whatsoever. But he is a damn good basketball player at that. 8 of 17, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 22 points last night. But then you got Isaiah Hartenstein that does the heavy lifting inside, collecting the 8 boards, 6 of them defensive rebounds. So you have Isaiah Hartenstein that can rebound. Chet Holmgren provides a nice scoring presence inside. You have obviously Shai Gilgeous-Alexander won the league MVP, who's done a phenomenal job to start this series. 12 of 21. 38 points. They're just too good. They are very solid defensively. They get back. They suffocate you. The way that they have been able to just absolutely bully and make Rudy Gobert out look like essentially a traffic cone in a Minnesota Timberwolves jersey is just something that needs to be applauded for, because he has done absolutely nothing from the Minnesota Timberwolves side of things in the first 2 games of this series. Guarding air, he's not crashing the boards as well as he was and as dominant as he was earlier in the postseason. Again, when you got Isaiah Hartenstein and Jalen Williams, because he got 10 rebounds. So you have Jalen Williams and Isaiah Hartenstein there inside for you offensively, and also on the opposite end of the floor, they make Rudy Gobert's presence out there on the floor obsolete. But the problem is that when Rudy Gobert has gotten exposed a lot, especially, and was taken to the cleaners like we saw last night, but then when Minnesota takes them off the floor, they're obviously, you look at them and they are way, 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 way too small. So it's like every single jump shot that the Timberwolves take, if they miss it, it's an automatic rebound back the other way, and the cycle will never end, because Minnesota, when they put out the small lineup, they're so small. Because I mean, you take a look, you get Chet Holmgren's tall. You got Isaiah Hartenstein has height. I mean, that's a basketball team that's got a lot of height to it, not just outside of their fours and their fives, but it's a relatively tall basketball team for the most part. And you take a look at Minnesota and the physical mismatch that lies there, and then on top of that, when you have Rudy Gobert, just guarding air, just standing with his arms like this, not guarding a single soul, and he's getting bullied in the paint and can't grab a damn rebound because Isaiah Hartenstein's taking him to the cleaners. This is the results you're going to get. But the Oklahoma City Thunder have been, I mean, it's head and shoulders. I mean, they have been the best basketball team start to finish. Obviously, we know how well Indiana's played, but Indiana for the first months of the season did not play as well. I'm talking about from the opening tip of October of last fall all the way through last night. It's without a shadow of a doubt, without any doubt anymore at this point, because they're the only one. They're the only one or two seed left standing that's still playing in the postseason now in the Final Four for the NBA. But they have been the best team in the NBA start literally to last night, and they deserve tremendous credit for just their grit, their toughness, their execution, and also the thing that goes into their favor too. They're very young. Not to say that Minnesota isn't, but they're a very young team, going to be around each other for a long time. Inexperience got nothing to do with it, because they have played absolutely exceptional in the postseason. The multiple 30-point blowouts, as they highlighted during the broadcast last night. The Thunder they're too good of a basketball team. And Julius Randle had the magnificent first half scoring performance in game one, and then in game two and last night he was a complete no-show. I mean, and you watch Julius Randle play the way he played against the Thunder last night, you can see why the New York Knicks were just elated to trade him in the Karl Anthony Towns trade last offseason, and why, as quiet as it's kept, it was a blessing in disguise. I hate to put it so callously, but it was a blessing in disguise for Randall to be out of the Knicks postseason run last year with the shoulder injury, because he puts together those games where he is just a complete liability in the postseason. That cannot happen shooting 2 of 11, 0 for 3 from 3 and 6 points. And 4 turnovers. I mean, that's the type of stuff that drove Knicks fans to drink when he put up had that horrific series against the Miami Heat a few years ago, and every Knicks fan and their mother was screaming and yelling from the rooftops for him to be traded. Performances like we saw in game 2 the other night are exactly why. Case in point. But he's got to be better. We touched on Rudy Gobert. I mean, only 9 rebounds. He did nothing offensively. Only took 5 shots, made 2 of them. Can't make a tap-in basket. It was pathetic. And then another thing too, it's enough of Anthony Edwards with him being a quote-unquote next Michael Jordan / face of the NBA. You're the face of the NBA. You got to put a better number. I know he had 32 points, but he was 1 of 9 from 3 and took 26 shots. You got to take that with a little bit of a grain of salt. I understand they try to make things a little bit interesting there, middle of the fourth quarter, but in full, he's a volume shooter. In full, I've not been impressed with what I've seen from Anthony Edwards through the first 2 games of the Western Conference Finals. He has to be better than that. He must be better than that. If you get talked about, you get hyped to be one of the best players in the world, the next Michael Jordan, blah, 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 face of the NBA, you got to perform better. I have not been impressed by his performance in the first 2 games of that series. Offensively, he's been a complete no-show. I mean, it's just like you watch him and it's like, damn, is Ant-Man on the court, or is that somebody on the court that they got from the upper deck that's got an Ant-Man jersey on? He has been a complete non-factor in this series. Complete non-factor. Again, the best player on the floor for the Timberwolves in the first half in game 1 was Julius Randle, not Anthony Edwards. And that's a major problem, and he's got to nip that piss poor play in the bud heading into game 3 on Saturday and game 4 on Monday, or else this series is going to literally be over by the time we reconvene on Tuesday after Memorial Day. And I got a good feeling that it very well might be. If there was any chance for the Timberwolves, if you can't at least split against that damn good machine heading back into your building, I don't think you have a shot. I said Wolves in 7. It feels like Thunder in 4. They've been that dominant this season. And you take a look at the games that they lost to Denver. Denver has the top 2 best player in the world in Nikola Jokic. Nobody on Minnesota is as good as him. Not Ant-Man, not obviously damn Skippy, not Rudy Gobert, not Mike Conley, not Julius Randle, not Naz Reid and DiVincenzo coming off the bench. They do not have a Nikola Jokic. And you need a Nikola Jokic on your team just to keep you afloat. Because the Oklahoma City Thunder right now are a wagon that can do no wrong in any, and I mean any, facet of the game to start this series. Another thing about this series that makes it unwatchable is that I can't watch Anthony Edwards time after time after time after time foul bait on every single drive to the basket. Now, shame on the rest for always awarding his flopping and awarding his foul baiting. That's a league issue. That's an officiating issue. Somebody with a brain and a working set of eyes should clearly see that every single time that he goes and drives into the basket, it's not a foul. It's just not. I understand you can technically, by the letter of the law, call a foul on it. It's not a foul, number one. And number two, even if it is, some of them are more egregious than others. Some of it's the playoffs, not a game in the middle of November. Some of them you can kind of turn the other cheek, let it slide, because if nothing else, it absolutely tanks and ruins the momentum, the flow, and the pacing of the game. Every single 5 seconds whistle, 30 minutes, a minute of dead time, two foul shots, one shot goes in, another 10, 15 seconds, another shot goes in. Then if it's a timeout, that's another 2 minutes and change thrown on top of it, or another 30 seconds if it's a 30-second minimal timeout. And then you got the it's too much. It's too much. The rhythm, the flow, the pacing of the games are terrible, very choppy. In game one, it was downright disgraceful. The foul baiting that was going on. Again, shame on the refs for awarding his foolishness and not nipping it in the bud by saying, "Hey, enough is enough." Shame on them, but SGA is no fool. He's no idiot. It's gamesmanship. He's going to continue to do it until they either stop calling the fouls or until they warn him and say, "Hey, cut this shit out." That was not a foul. Get up and quit flopping and fooling around, making a mockery of the sport like a fish out of water. So it's all of it is just it's bad basketball. This is supposed to be high leverage, elite, creme de la creme playoff basketball, and I got SGA, looking for a whistle or fixing his face, fixing his body, like he gets clotheslined every single time he drives inside towards the back. It's unwatchable. Bad enough that the Timberwolves aren't on the Thunder's level, number one, but it makes for completely unwatchable and disgraceful basketball. It really is. From the officials and the officiating enabling him to do it. And then for SGA to continue to do it, every single time you turn around, this guy's sitting there at the foul line. You take a look at the free throw attempts. Chet Holmgren got to the line 6 times. Lou Dort got to the line 12 times. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander got to the line 15 times. And he took and he took one more shot than Jalen Williams and 4 more shots more than Chet Holmgren. He took 21 shots. Chet Holmgren took 17, got to the free throw, made 6 free throw attempts. 6, got to line, scored, attempted 17 shots, had 6 free throw attempts. Jay Williams, 20 shots taken, only 1 free throw attempt. 21 shots taken for Shai, 15 free throw attempts. It's enough. It's got to stop. For the remainder of the series, I swear, if this guy, and I think Oklahoma City and Denver, Oklahoma City is going to the finals, but he is going to single-handedly tank the entertainment value of this series with the goofy bull jive that he's pulled the first 2 games because it's just not basketball. The foul baiting foolishness, getting to the foul line. I mean, it was 2 minutes into game 1 the other night. He was already at the free throw line. I mean, you got to be kidding me. So the foul baiting with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander must stop because it's not basketball. It's bad basketball, and it makes for unwatchable basketball. It's got to stop, and it must stop. That's the second thing with this series that has me annoyed. As for the Knicks and the Pacers series, first off, game number 1. If you're the Knicks, you have to be kicking yourself because your sloppiness and inexecution and lack of fundamentals and defensive lapses and everything else, that contributed to you losing this game. It did. It contributed to you losing this game. For a perfect example, okay, this is late in the 4th quarter with 32.7 seconds left to go with the Knicks up 5, 123 to 118. Brunson driving. He's got an open OG Anunoby standing right underneath the basket. At that time, there were 22 seconds left on the shot clock. In that situation, when you are nursing a 2-possession lead or greater, and there's less than a minute to 50 seconds left to go in regulation, the clock is your friend, not your enemy. Yes, is it imperative that you continue to stay somewhat aggressive offensively and get the necessary baskets to continue to build that margin? Absolutely. But in that given situation, especially when Indiana is shooting the lights out of the building to cut a 14-point lead down to 5, it is imperative that you milk every last second off the shot and game clock before you take your shot and your given offensive possession. And the Knicks in that situation, not holding on to the ball in that situation, among the other possessions there late in the 4th quarter, came back to bite them in the ass. You got to do a better job of milking the clock in that given scenario. You have to. You can't. I get it. You don't want to waste so much time on a shot clock. You walk away with nothing in shot clock. I understand all that, but in that given situation, and this is where, again, you're more than fair to criticize Tom Thibodeau and to hold him accountable because this is coaching. Late game situational basketball, like the example I just gave, is coaching. You got to be able to keep and know in the back of your mind, our clock is our friend, not our enemy. We got to make sure we milk this sucker down to about 5 seconds. And it was about a 10-second difference between shot clock and game clock. So in that given situation, you shoot the ball, and the Knicks have about what? Not the Knicks, but the Pacers have roughly what? About 12 to 10 seconds to do something because it was at Shot clock was about at 22 seconds. So if you run all 20 of those, if you run 20 out of the 22 seconds down, the Pacers got a finite amount of time to work with, down 7 or down 8. Down 7 or 8 points with less than 15 seconds to go in the game. I like the Knicks' chances to win. Situational basketball like that. And then on the inbounds passing, how the Knicks got so sloppy there late in the fourth quarter with the inbounds pass. I mean, again, the little things. This time of the year, I said it on the radio, and I say it here. And I say it all the time during the NFL playoffs also, too. You know, it's the cream of the crop this time of the year. You get to the final four of the NFL playoffs, of the AL and NLCS in baseball, the Eastern and Western Conference. You get to the creme de la. These are the four best teams in the sport they're still playing right here, right now. Still playing right. Like, it doesn't get any better than this without, obviously, the championship matchup. The best there is in the sport still in this season are the four teams that are playing. Throughout the course of the regular season, through the postseason, they were able to make it through the marathon, and they are the final four standing, yet to play each other to determine who wins the conference championship and later the NBA championship. And when you get to that point in your season and get to that point in your schedule, I don't care if it's the NBA playoffs, the NFL playoffs, the NBA postseason, the same applies in all three. Your margin of error becomes thinner and thinner and slimmer the deeper you get into the postseason. The margin of error that you have and you were able to win in spite of, in October and November and December and January and February and March, and even, depending on who you play, the first round or two in the postseason, by the time you get to where you're now playing for a trophy and a banner and a spot to play in the league championship. So, in football, we say the one turnover that may not be a big deal in week 7 becomes the end of the world in the AFC or the NFC championship game. Leaving runners stranded, the bases loaded with one out or nobody out in the top or bottom of the 6th inning. Regular season game, this time of the year, middle of May, you may get 1 or 2 more opportunities, and if you win the game, all's well that ends well. In the month of October, especially in the AL and NLCS, it can be the determining factor in whether or not your season ends that night or you live to see another day, whether that be an extra game in a given series or advancing to the World Series. It does not change. So the Knicks have got to be able to do the little things right. Their egregious failure at doing the little things right in that fourth quarter, it cannot happen this time of the year. The sloppiness with the inbounds. I mean, they nearly coughed up, I think, 2 possessions in and of it. It didn't even have to go for an overtime. Or they could have lost the game earlier in the overtime. Had the Knicks not gotten lucky with 2 sloppy, anxiety-induced inbounds passes. The inbound passes have got to be better. The execution with that's got to be better. The defense on inbounds passes has to be better. I mean, what in the hell was Mitchell Robinson doing in the over? He was caught in no man's land guarding air. He's supposed to have Obi Toppin coming off the inbounds pass. He was nowhere to be found. Obi Toppin got the inbounds pass, made a beeline to the basket, and dunked it without breaking a sweat. That stuff like that cannot happen in the Eastern Conference Finals. Bad enough you blew a 17 or 14-point lead. That stuff cannot happen. Cannot happen this time of the year. So executing inbounds pass from the offensive side of the ball, executing the proper defensive set and the defensive execution when you're on defense on the inbounds pass, and then the free throw shooting which kept the door open there late in the fourth quarter to allow Haliburton to make that game-tying three. And then back to what I originally said with knowing how to work and milk the clock. You don't need to shoot so early in the shot clock when you're already nursing a multi-possession lead. You don't need to shoot that early. Because for teams to come back when down 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 points, 9 points, they need time. They need time to get themselves a proper play organized and to give it time to develop. If the first or the second look's not there, they got to buy time and possibly get a third one. That's not also taken into account in case the shot doesn't go in, rebounding, more time to play defense on the other side of the floor. I mean, it's just you gotta be able to get these things right this time of the year. And the Knicks failed to do that numerous amounts of occasions in multiple facets of the game. And that is where, again, you got to point the finger and you have to shed some light and some accountability on head coach Tom Thibodeau, because that is the coach's responsibility to make sure that his team closes efficiently and smoothly at the end of regulation in a tight game. When a team is at least giving a last-ditch effort to make a comeback late. You got to make sure, okay, yeah, you can make the shots. You get the basketball, you make shots, okay, fine. But but the item that we can control, if they catch fire in the final 15 to 40 seconds of the game, whatever. And even then, they give too many open looks from three in that given situation. But regardless, you're going to make your threes, fine. On the side of the ball we can control, we are going to make sure that we milk that shot clock down to where it's under 10 to 5 seconds. We're going to make sure on inbounds passes we're organized. We're not sliding all over. I mean, as many times it's like Brunson was on a damn slip and slide with these inbound passes on Wednesday night. We're going to make sure that our execution on the inbounds passes is to standard. We're going to make when we get the ball, we drive inside whatever, or the automatic foul, we're going to make sure we're going to make our free throws. We're going to do X, Y, and Z to make life as humanly difficult as possible for you to put together this miraculous comeback. And the New York Knicks did not do that. Give Indiana credit for fighting back, because they don't win that game unless Indiana makes plays on the offensive side of the floor. So give them tremendous credit for that. But the Knicks played a nice helping hand into making the comeback easier than it should have been for Indiana. And I'm watching this game on Wednesday night, and I'm saying to myself, why do I feel like this game is not over? And the clock, it's like at 1 minute, 50 seconds, 40 seconds, and it's like this game just will not end. Now, again, give Indiana credit. Nesmith absolutely caught fire from three, was absolutely magnificent. But it was like the Knicks also on their end of the floor couldn't contain themselves and kept prolonging the game. You got to make your free throws. We learned at the back end of the NCAA tournament and the Final Four how important and how crucial missed free throws are. Same applies in the Final Four of the NBA Finals. Same applies. But Nesmith it was 8 of 9 from 3 and put together 30 points. He dominated that game in the fourth quarter offensively for Indiana. But the New York Knicks have got to do a better job of executing there here in Game 2 later on tonight. Have to. But again, going back to the Pacers, give them credit. As you guys know, and you probably do at this point because you've heard it ad infinitum, in NBA history, 2 players have had 20 or more points and 5 threes in the fourth quarter of a playoff game on the opponent's home floor. Both Pacers at MSG in the conference finals. Reggie Miller, June 1st, 1994. Aaron Nesmith, obviously, on Wednesday night. Teams that trail by 9 or more in the final minute of the fourth quarter overtime of a playoff game were 0 for 1,414 since 1998 entering Wednesday night. And then the Pacers steal victory from the jaws of defeat. Up by 14, the Knicks were with 2:45 to go in the fourth quarter, and you can't close. That's unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable. That's coaching. You up 14 with 2:40 to go. Even I don't care if Neesmith makes 15 threes in a row. You find a way to win the game. You milk the clock down. You continue to execute offensively, and you put the game away by making it as short as humanly possible. And again, if Brunson, in that given possession example I gave you, does his job and milks down the clock, the Indiana Pacers with one timeout are not to work with are not going to score 8-9 points with less than 20 seconds to go in the game and only one timeout at their disposal. If that offensive possession by New York is executed properly, which it was not. But give Indiana credit. They were down in the first round by 7 with 34.7 seconds to go against Milwaukee, came back and won. Down by 7 in game 2 of the second round against Cleveland, 119 to 112, came back and won. And we're down 121 to 112 with 52 and a half seconds left to go in the fourth quarter. And for them to show such grit, such mental toughness, and such moxie to come back and win all 3 of those games is, as a neutral basketball fan and a neutral viewer of that game, thing of beauty to watch. Thing of beauty to watch. They made that game their own in the fourth quarter. And Rick Carlisle, like it doesn't need to be said, but I'm saying anyway, he is a tremendous and sensational basketball coach. He is he's phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. I mean, one of the underrated plays in that game was when one of his guys wanted Indiana to challenge, and Carlisle was like, shut up, stay on the floor, enough, I don't want to hear it, go out there and just play. And that was big because Indiana didn't, because if they'd have challenged that and not have won it, they would have went without a challenge the rest of the game. And it proved to be paramount because later on obviously in the game, on the inbounds pass that initially was ruled deflected off a Pacer out of bounds Nick ball, they went back, challenged it, reviewed it, and saw that Jalen Brunson had the last little tip of the basketball, which changed, obviously, the spin of the direction which the basketball was going when it went out of bounds. He challenged it. They went back and reviewed it and took a possession away from New York and put the ball right in the hands of Indiana. That was an underrated moment in that entire comeback on Wednesday night. That was an underrated moment. The decision not to challenge, play on, save his challenge for later, and he got an extra possession out of it. Underrated moment during Wednesday night's comeback. But, I mean, you get the feeling with Wednesday night's game and then obviously the 2 comebacks like I highlighted, the closeout game against Milwaukee in the first round and then game 2 against Cleveland. You get the feeling that Indiana may be a team of destiny. I mean, when you combine miraculous stuff like that thrown in with their really just elite dominating level of play that we've seen from them since the new year rolled in January, maybe this is a team of destiny after all. And if we do get an Indiana Oklahoma City final, it will be very intriguing to see how that's. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself because if the Knicks win tonight, I think this series is far from over. But if the Pacers win the conference and move on, we get an Oklahoma City, Indianapolis NBA final. It'll be very interesting because you got a team of dominance against a team that's on fire that feels destined to win an NBA championship. Coughing baby versus hydrogen bomb. I mean, seeing those 2 to go at it for a best of 7 would be, and I would figure to be very entertaining television. But the Knicks have an avenue to put an end to any of those hypotheticals with a win tonight. I said it on the radio and I'll say it again here. This series has the potential to go one of two ways: Knicks in 7 or Pacers in 4. What path? Because right now, through the first game of the series, already is at a crossroads. It could go left or right aggressively, depending on what happens here tonight. If the Knicks go, even if they win a thriller in game 2, this series is far from over. If they win like a way of dominance, as we saw from them last Friday night, series obviously would be far from over. But if they fall into a 2-0 hole and fail to win the first 2 games at MSG with quote-unquote home court advantage, going into Indianapolis where the Knicks had problems playing well, and I think if my memory serves me correctly, they failed to win a game when they played Indiana last year in the conference semifinals. Given also how well Indiana has played at home in the postseason, that's asking an awful lot, because Indiana's not scared of the Knicks. Haliburton's not scared. We know Neesmith is not scared. They got a damn good coach in Rick Carlisle. Obi Toppin made a nice contribution there late. And then, Pascal Siakam's a former champion with the Raptors, 6 years ago, knows his way around big-time playoff series and is a solid other player, as Kenny Smith would put it. Asking an awful lot. The Knicks have to win tonight. Have to. And like I said, heading into game 6 last week, I'll say it here. You got to make sure that MSG crowd works to your advantage. The sooner, the better. Because when it works to your advantage and you're playing well, like we saw from the Knicks in the first, 46 and a half minutes of game number 1 on Wednesday night, that crowd, that atmosphere, that energy, on top of the Knicks playing well, it becomes a big-ass avalanche that just grows and gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and whoa! Swallows the opponent whole. And you look up at the scoreboard and you're down 30-something points. But if you aren't playing well, it works as a double-edged sword. If you hear basically the aux prompt of the defense chant, if you're a Knicks fan, you're in trouble. You got to make sure when that organ goes, dun, dun, defense, you got to make sure you can hear and you can decipher the difference between the actual recorded prompt that's being played through the stadium, through the arena speakers. You got to be able to hear and distinctively hear the difference between what's the recording and the actual 19,000 people screaming at the top of their lungs defense. If you can hear the difference between the two, if you're Indiana, things are going A-okay. If the defense literally sounds like you're playing a game at MetLife, you're in trouble. You got to take the crowd out of that game and have them sitting, figuratively and literally, sitting on their hands. Like how we saw the Celtics did 2 weeks ago, where the crowd was begging, and had like a nervous anxiety about them, wanting to desperately get involved in the game. And they couldn't because the Knicks played so poorly. And the only reason why I say, if by virtue of the Pacers winning this as an opportunity to be over in 4 games, I said on the radio even 5, so I'll say 5 here, 4 or 5 games, is because that's a type of victory in game 1 that can change the psyche of a team for the worse and for the series. Now, this Knicks team is very resilient. They're mentally tough. I don't think, just how I've seen this team play, then I don't think they know, how to basically crawl into their shell when they face a bad loss like that. But history tells us, NBA or outside of the sport, history tells us that typically when that's the first win of a series, it basically sets the pattern and the precedent of what is to follow. Different sport, but New York was involved, so I use it. It's like game 1 of the World Series, Dodgers Yankees. That was a game that the Yankees, in all honesty, should have won. Cole pitched well. Stanton was clutch. They held the Dodgers in check for the majority of the night, and then they load up the bases there in the ninth inning, and Boone, first off, like we discussed, took Garrett Cole out too early, which gave the Dodgers bats obviously a lot of given encouragement and a nice emotional pick me up. And then what does he do? Goes to the bullpen, brings in a guy that hadn't pitched in about 3-4 weeks in Cortez. Freddie Freeman hits the walk-off grand slam, and essentially, for the most part, the remainder of that series, the Yankees just, you got the feeling mentally, psychologically, were never the same. I understand they put together a solid game 5 to start. So maybe, and if had not, Cole forgot to cover first base, blah blah blah, they would have could have went back to Dodger Stadium for a game 6. But still, be that as it may, that set the precedent that was going to be the win. That was going to be the moment that was going to emotionally give the Dodgers that extra that extra launching pad over the Yankees to win that series. And I got a funny feeling that the same could happen to the Knicks with Haliburton and the Pacers here in this series. Because you thought they were down for the count, left for dead, they played such a good game throughout the first 95 to 97%, and then all of a sudden they awoke from their slumber and rose like the Undertaker and locked in, got it into gear, and stole victory from the jaws of defeat and punched the Knicks in the mouth to do it. You get the feeling that like they may not, they mentally may not be the same after that. Wouldn't shock me if they won tonight. Wouldn't also shock me if they lost either. Because losses like that can it's not, if this was a regular season game in January, different story. It happens. But Eastern Conference Finals, place the Knicks haven't been to in 25 years. No Celtics, no Cavs to worry about. And you lost to this thing the year before. This could be a mental thing with the Knicks if they don't win tonight. That's the key. They got to be able to deliver and win tonight. Haliburton is going to be foaming at the mouth to put his stamp on this game. And keep in mind, the Knicks did an excellent job in game 1 of weathering Indiana's storm to start the game. Because if you remember correctly, to start the game, Indiana couldn't miss. If they attempted to miss a shot on purpose, they couldn't miss. They started the game so electric offensively. So they're going to try to replicate that again and take the crowd out of the game as early as humanly possible. And they're what you would figure would dare the Knicks to basically stay with them score for score to begin the first quarter like we saw on Wednesday night. And if the Knicks, they start the game 0 of 5, 2 of 10, and Indiana's out to a 21-6 lead early, be careful. Be very, very careful. And then in terms of the Knicks players outside of the intangible side of this game, they got to get better, especially OG Anunoby started out hot, and he didn't just cool off. He froze. Got to get better from him. Got to get better from Mikal Bridges. Missed 2 free throws. Had the 3 turnovers. It's just It's bad basketball, man. And you can't put all the pressure, all of your weight on Jalen Brunson. It was sad, low key, watching like literally his tank go to E in overtime. I mean, he for a guy that put up 43 points was put up 43 points, 15 to 25 from the field. He put together he ruined that quick, fast, in a hurry because he wasn't getting anything else from his teammates. OG let him down. Um, Mikal Bridges at times let him down. It's got to be better, man. Mitchell Robinson was a traffic cone in overtime on an aforementioned inbound pass. He can't do it all by himself. Hence the 7 turnovers and him going cold there late in the fourth quarter. I mean, you saw he had nothing left in his legs. You saw he threw up that air ball. He had nothing left. And Karl-Anthony Towns, too, with that air ball. I got no problem with him, strutting his stuff and talking shit. And when things were going great during the meat and potatoes of that game, but you can't sit up here and show off and point and pat and tap the Pacers bench player on the chest when you make a 3 in the corner, and then as for your team's last ditch effort to win a game you should have put away 45 minutes ago as your lasting image that I will have in my brain of you in that game on Wednesday. That cannot happen. But they put too much on Jalen Brunson's shoulders when his teammates aren't playing well. Turns over the basketball, and again, they caught a bad break with him getting in foul trouble, and they were fortunate that he was able to play the rest of the game with 5 fouls. So the 5 fouls, the turnovers, the air ball there at the end, the rest of his team has got to do a better job of stepping up. And not just stepping up and showing out, in spurts, so they can sit up and say, hey, look at me. I, did my part for the night. Okay, goodbye. Going to bed on the game too. No. Jalen Brunson don't quit. You don't quit. Jalen Brunson's out there busting his ass and come hell to high waters, making every single play. You got to make sure you're making and executing on every single play. Left them out to dry, honestly. They did. And I got no problem also, too, with Haliburton doing the Reggie Miller choke thing. No problem. It's a part of this rivalry. It was 30, not 34, 31 years ago with, like I previously mentioned, with Reggie against the Knicks. I got no problem with it. Brings it full circle. Reggie's in the building. Indiana Pacer to the fullest. It's part of the cinema and it's part of the drama and the entertainment value that comes with professional sports. That's why we love it so much. So I got no problem with it. Well, it didn't win a game and only tied it, so I had to play in overtime. The fact of the matter of it is the fact that the Knicks had a 17 and a 14-point lead, and then later on a 5-point lead, and had it washed away to the point where it got to an overtime. That's damning and humiliating in and of itself. And in fairness to Haliburton, when he shot that 3, because if you take a look, he drives inside. You think he's going to shoot a mid-range and drive towards the basket. And at the last second, he says, oh, shit, I need a 3 to tie this. I need a 3 to win it, a 2 to tie. I got a chance to win this ball game. Let me back out. And he took one less step trying to make sure he was able to get the shot off in time. As a result, a quarter of an inch of his toe was on the line. He hit the shot, obviously. He thought, and I thought, everyone else thought, even his coach thought, because he was going to Thibodeau to shake his hand, thought that the game was over. They looked at it, toes on the line, Kevin Durant 2.0, which if the Knicks win this series could honestly be their saving grace that his foot was on the line. Not necessarily, in my opinion, him doing the whole Reggie Miller choke thing at the end of game number 1, but a tremendous, phenomenal series. That series is head and shoulders and moons way, 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 way more entertaining and more compelling than the Western Conference Finals. Let's see if it continues with a banger of a game 2 coming up on Friday night. And another NBA point. Can we cut, and this is for you, Adam Silver, can we cut the charade, cut the bull jive, cut the fluff, cut the nonsense, and start these damn games on time? I mean, I am amazed how the NBA, it's almost like they go out of their way intentionally to piss me off with this stupid crap. If this says on the ESPN app, on the advertisements when I'm watching television, that the game starts at 8:30, God damn it, that ball better be up in the air 6 inches away from being tipped off at 8:29:55. You say the game starts at 8:30, it starts at 8:30. If not, say if it's going to start at 8:40 or 8:45, tell me it's going to start at 8:40, 8:45, or 8:43 or 8:38. Tell me. The fact that we're still pulling up with this nonsense collectively as basketball and sports fans alike with the NBA with these start times and these games not starting on time, it pisses me off. Because I'm all raring to go, ready to watch the game over my Chinese food, and I'm sitting up here looking at 13 minutes of mindless, empty pregame talk. You told me on the ESPN app, on the NBA app, with your promos during the commercial, you told me that the game starts at 8:30. If it starts at 8:30, start the damn thing at 8:30. If not, actually tell me what time the game is going to start so I can sit my ass down and be prepared to watch it. Not 13 to 15 minutes of mindless pregame yammer with a bunch of commercials sandwiched in between. When the NFL says that a game starts at 8:20, it starts at about 8:20, at the latest 8:22. 2 minutes. Whoop-de-doo. 2 minutes. NFL, they say the game starts at 1 o'clock, kickoff 1:01, 1:02. 2 minutes. Big deal. 1 or 2 minutes is one thing. 13 to 15 minutes is something totally different. That's halfway through a 30-minute television show. Start the damn games on time, or at least be transparent with your starting times with these games. It's enough. When the NFL has a game that says that the damn thing starts at 4:25 to 4:25 games a week, you bet your ass by the time that clock hits 4:25, the ball's kicked off and already in the air. Not at 4:45 or 5 of 5 or 4:35. 4:25 kickoff. It's enough of this foolishness. The only time the NFL gets a little murky with the scheduling is the Super Bowl. And that's the only time. They say kickoff is going to be about 6:45, and the damn thing don't start till. That's the only time. That's one game out of 280 something games within the NFL season that they don't stick to their guns with the start time. Regular season, postseason, game starts at 3. Championship Sunday, the game starts at 3. Game starts 6:30, it starts at 6:30. Not 6:45, not 6:50 or 7 o'clock for the AFC and the NFC Championship. They start the damn thing on time. It drives me crazy with the NBA. Can we start the games on time and quit fooling around, please? Drives me up the wall. Or at least be transparent and tell us actually when the game's going to start on time so I can be physically prepared for it. To some baseball, quickly. Yankees, just my luck. Orioles are pathetic disgrace, and the Yankees never lose. 30-19, they are the second team in the American League to 30 wins. They now have eclipsed the 600 winning percentage. They're 11 games over 500. They've won 4 games in a row. They swept the hapless Rangers who can't hit. They've won 8 out of the last 10 games. Yorbit Vivas scored the only and first and only important run and home run of the game in their victory on Thursday afternoon off of Nathan Eovaldi to secure the Yankees 1-0 victory for them. Devin Williams, since he's been relegated from the closer spot, seems to found himself all of a sudden just wonderful, just absolutely positively wonderful. The starting pitching has been solid. Rodon has held his weight. put together a nice outing earlier this week. Yankees can do no wrong, even in games in which the judge doesn't hit. They find a way to hit. They were in a 3-1 hole on Wednesday night. They climbed back, tied the game up at 3 apiece, and Jason Dominguez hit his first career walk-off home run into the left field seats to get what really was a winnable game for the Texas Rangers. They'll be kicking themselves. Currently sitting in third place in the AL West, 4 games back of the division-leading Mariners. They've lost 4 in a row on the flip side with a run differential of -4. They are a game under 500 at 25-26, 8-16. They are not good away from Globe Life Field. They'll be kicking them. They didn't play well enough to win the series, but that was the one game right there in the middle they should have won to avoid the sweep. And I mean, they straight the bullpen just imploded. They should have won that game Wednesday night against the Yankees, but the Yankees never lose. They got a 5-game lead against Toronto, who's only the second team as of heading into tonight's festivities that's above 500 outside of the Yankees in the East. 25-24, 5 games back. They've won 3 in a row, 6 out of the last 10 games for the Toronto Blue. Looking at this division just makes me want to fucking cry. Orioles in last place by a healthy 7 games too at 16-33, be 16-34. They're going to get swept in this doubleheader by the relegate the Orioles into another part of the galaxy where they can play and lose into their heart's content, and nobody is aware of them. There's no actual footage, recorded footage, one way or another. These just make them disappear into oblivion. They can lose all the games they want, and they can come back when they actually lock in and get serious about being a winning, let alone forget just a competitive, watchable baseball team again. Yankees can't stop winning. Dodgers seem to roll with the punches, obviously, with the injuries. Face a little bit of a rough patch, as we've discussed in earlier shows. They have split their last 10 games. Winners of back-to-back in first place ahead of the Giants by 2 games. Had a nice comeback victory the other night over the Diamondbacks. Max Muncy with the walk-off RBI a few nights ago. Dodgers, no panic. If you got it, your lineup is deep. You got all the resources in the world, albeit you would like to now they can afford it because they are the Dodgers, but in a perfect world, I don't care if you're the Dodgers or if you're the damn Pittsburgh Pirates, you give out money to talented starting pitchers, you got to get more from them, and what I mean by more, I mean more availability. I mean, these guys, Snell and Glasnow, they live on the IL. Saw a report early this afternoon. Shohei Ohtani, I believe, is going to throw BP at Citi Field throughout the course of this weekend. You got the Dodgers and the Mets at Citi Field for 3 coming up this weekend. That will be appointment television in the senior circuit across Major League Baseball. The Yankees, going back to them right quick, they get a laugher. Again, everything is coming up New York, outside of the Knicks, ironically enough. The Yankees are in Colorado for the weekend, who they should beat without even breaking a sweat. Those games and those wins should come so easy over the weekend. And then they head to Southern California with 3 in Anaheim against the Angels next week, and then an off day, and then over next weekend they got 3 against the Dodgers, which would be appointment television. I don't love the fact that the game on the 30th is at 10 o'clock at night, which, I'm an early riser on Saturdays. I don't like the fact that it's an Apple TV game, which just is another kick in the ass in and of itself. But the 2 games, you'll see, for those of us in the Eastern Time Zone, 7:15 on Fox, which is essentially be a day game in Los Angeles, and then 7 o'clock, another day game in Los Angeles. Sunday night baseball coming up on June the 1st. Then they get an off day, and then they come back eastward, and things get a little hairy with 3 against the Guardians and the Red Sox back-to-back to meet them in the Boogie Down, and they hit the road for 3 against Kansas City and 3 against Boston. And by that time, the Angels will pay the Yankees a visit in mid-June, and then the Orioles will come in to get their teeth kicked in for 3 games, and then away you go the rest of the month of June for the New York Yankees. The Phillies, speaking of the Rockies, they played well. Excellent. They sweep the season series of the Rockies, a perfect 7-0 against the worst team in baseball. Hard to believe I'm saying that. I'm not talking about the Orioles, which is just, well, all things being fair and equal, considering that the Rockies, everyone knew they were going to be bad and they had no expectations, and their roster is just, I mean, it's that of a single A team. The Orioles are the worst team. Record-wise, they may not be, but in terms of expectations and the talent that should be there, that should be producing, I swore and promised myself I wasn't going to lose my mind, but can't help myself. It's just I care too much about this team to see them. I got more pride than they do. That's part of the damn problem. But the Phillies, getting back to them, they've won 8 of the last 10, 7 in a row. Have a healthy 2-game cushion over the Mets atop the National League East. They're hitting well. Pitching has been strong. Swartz put together an absolutely dominant outing, and their 2-0 victory on Thursday afternoon. 6 2/3, 6 innings shutout baseball. Did walk 3 batters with 6 strikeouts. Had a solid performance for Philadelphia Phillies, so they are looking well, and things on the up and up for the Fighting Phils there in southeast Pennsylvania. Yeah, that's it for across Major League Baseball for the most part. In terms of the NFL, I'm glad the Tush Push is here to stay. You got a problem with it, man the fuck up and tell you 3 techniques and your offensive lineman in part to hit the damn weight room. It's a football. It's literally football at its purest form, and football at its purest form is is rugby's cousin essentially. And the fact that my Bengals were a part of that. Were a part of the collection of teams that voted for the Tush Push being banned just makes my damn blood. I mean, it makes my damn blood boil. I mean, of course, the cheap, frugal, incompetent, stupid ass backward Blackburn and Brown family. It's just so on par and so on brand for this stupid ass football team that I root for to vote against the Tush Push wanting it banned. I mean, just can we get a set of balls and man the hell on up? They weren't the only ones. Bills voted against it, which I found to be rich considering that's all they tried to run in the championship game against Buffalo, and they won it banned. The Packers have kind of been the leading team and the leading force behind the Tush Push getting banned. They voted for it to get banned, along with the Falcons, the Bears, the Cardinals, the Panthers, the Cowboys, the Texans, the Rams, the Steelers, the Seahawks, the Bucks, the Commanders, the 49ers, the Giants, the Vikings, the Chargers, the Chiefs, and the Denver Broncos. But it seems that voted not to ban it. Obviously, the Eagles, the Ravens, Browns, Lions, Jets, Jaguars, Saints, Patriots, Titans, and Dolphins. And it's surprising that the Dolphins, who, for not for whatever the reason, but unceremoniously have been kind of labeled by the football community, fans and players and coaches and media alike, as being one of the more softer teams in the National Football League because of the fact, nothing but flash. They don't know how to win games, 17-14. They got to score a lot of points, blow you out. And if they can't do that, they don't perform, they don't score. Poor line play on both sides of the ball. They don't play well in cold weather, yada, yada, yada. And then they voted not to ban the Tush Push, which I found to be quite ironic. That the Dolphins voted not to ban it, and teams like the Steelers and there's teams like the Steelers did, and the Bears did, which I found, and the Giants, teams that are known for, old school blue collar, button up your chin strap, 3 yards in a cloud of dust. Those type of franchises, whether historically or based on how they're, or based on the current attitude and mindset of the football team in 2025, teams like that shocked me. But the Bengals, I mean, more caught up in I guess their opinion on the damn Tush Push and making sure that Trey Hendrickson gets signed for the immediate future. I mean, why do my teams go out? It's like they go out of their way to get under my skin and piss me off, man. It's just I hate them. Honestly, I hate them. They make me sick. How about win? How about win for a change? How about win? Show some guts. be smart, be productive, just do what all the things that they both do that pisses me off. Do the exact opposite of that and win some championships. Plural. I'm in an angry mood, cranky mood, in case you haven't noticed, which is why we're going to nip this episode in the bud right here, right now. Like what you heard, new to the show, please don't hesitate to subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and the works at the J Shield. Follow the show on Instagram at @Amatel_Podcast. The show on Twitter at @Amatel_ItTIS. Be sure to subscribe. Hit that subscribe button down below and up here if you have not already. Until Tuesday, no show on Monday because Memorial Day. Peace. Be safe. Please be safe. Be blessed. Y'all take care.